Hello my brethren, I hope you're all well. In today's video I will be covering the post-Fap. Well, it's not really been post-Fap yet, but I have now come home and I want to talk a bit about the experience. Let's first start with how things were before I started, and I did admit to the first video that fapping was something that I was doing quite a lot, and I have been doing quite a lot since I was a teenager, and I haven't really stopped. And even during my relationships or the relationships that I had before, fapping was something that I did. To me, it was something that helped me clear my mind. And then I went on this experience, let's say, of self-discovery, although it wasn't really just that. I mean, a lot of people have said that they see benefits from doing this, but I mean, it depends from the person, I guess. And for me, I didn't really see much benefit. During this time, I have been seeing a girl who was possibly crazy, and I will expand a bit more on that a bit later on. And also, I was going through some trouble to do with work, and to be fair, I was thinking that if I was to be doing the fapping, it would have helped a great deal. Now, as I mentioned before, the fapping I did was something that I engaged in sexual intercourse, and I think I've had sex a total of maybe 4 times or maybe 5 times during this time, and that's because I intentionally kept it at a minimum. I'm pretty sure it was 4 times, to be fair. 7 weeks, 4 times. Yeah, sounds about right. Alright, and during this time, the beginning stages of it were quite surprising. It was almost as if I was quite addicted to whatever I was doing. And I mean, to be fair, right now I do feel quite addicted, and I am looking forward to the next 30 seconds of when I'm done with the first part of this video, since I'm going to talk a bit about this before, and then I'm going to talk about it slightly afterwards, and I want to see if you guys notice any difference. Now, in the first part, I felt very addicted to it. I felt very addicted to the whole concept. Like, I didn't know what to do. I almost felt quite attracted, let's say, to my laptop, and my penis would magically enlarge whenever I would be next to it, as if I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing when I was near my computer. But that slowly and surely calmed down. The problem was that for me, and for the amount that I was doing it, and for the sexual activity that I was having before, I think it gave me a bit of almost kind of like a rage initially, because I really wanted to do it and I was getting quite frustrated with myself. I remember within the first 5 days, 5 days, yeah, I think it was the 5th or the 6th day of it, I had my first wet dream, and that slightly angered me. I mean, I've had them from time to time, but they've become more infrequent, and they were more far apart from each other. In terms of my resting heart rate, there haven't been any real changes. It's remained pretty much stable. But what I have found in myself is that I found it a lot more difficult during this period to control some of my emotions. I found it a bit more difficult to resist on a woman making sexual advances towards me, and I found it a bit more difficult to say no when I really needed to. I had to keep my distance from women because I couldn't really trust myself during these interactions. And yeah, I guess it did give me energy, but at what cost? I mean, I did feel a lot more energetic in doing things. My video production has gone up, as you guys have noticed. But at the very end, I think it gave me less clarity than I had before. I mean, I think it made me softer, and I did discuss this with some other MGTOWs when I was going through it. I started feeling almost real emotions again, and I mean emotions targeted towards females. And that doesn't mean that I'm in essence dead inside, but I think the loneliness part that Vention mentioned in one of his videos was a bit more pronounced. So instead of talking with one woman, I was talking with 2 women, 3 women simultaneously, and I was asking for naked pictures. I was receiving naked pictures, and they were all planning to come and see me, and I had to continually postpone it because I didn't want to mess this up, and I wanted it to be a real thing. Now, the lengthiest period without any sexual release whatsoever that I did go, that includes no sex, and I've had no wet dream, right? That would have been close to 3 weeks, and this is the last period right now, which is why I'm scared of what I'm about to undertake in the next couple of minutes. I'm really not a fan of this, and I'm really not a fan because I do consider my urges to be quite natural, and it seems like I'm compromising myself in order to undertake an experiment. And in that experiment, I haven't really gained anything in terms of controlling self and emotions, but I have been a bit more out of control with regards to things. I've noticed my eating became quite erratic. I've noticed that my thoughts were becoming a bit more erratic, and I was finding it a lot more difficult to contain my anger at times. And this is partly the reason why I thought initially maybe it would have been a good idea to maybe stop the experiment and deal with the situations that I was going through at work. But I thought it's better to stick it out and then maybe go back to a version of myself that I was before so that I can deal with those situations. I was a lot more softer, and I think if the situation was something that would have happened to me, let's say, when I was doing my regular fapping routine, I would have been a bit more calm in terms of dealing with it, and I would have been a bit more clear in my mind. So it does cloud your judgment a bit, but it definitely makes it a lot more likely for you to act and engage in people and engage in dangerous activities, I would say. I feel like you're packing a loaded gun. I really do feel that. And that is my belief right now. And I'm going to pause this video right now, right about here. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to continue this video when I have done my deed, right? I'll speak to you guys in a second. Right, I'm back. I feel like having a cigarette. I don't know about you guys, but I definitely feel like having a cigarette right now. Imagine the champagne bottle exploding with stale ass thick cheese. Did I say more? Right, back to the story. I wanted to talk to you about something that I was going through all this time and how I believe the nofap was making it quite difficult. I briefly mentioned something to do with this story when I said that Messenger was giving me some advice to let someone go. So over the past couple of months, I would believe the past 4 months, I've been seeing this girl who I met on Tinder. This girl, she was alright, good looking, fairly firm, quite insane. You know, I mean, you know my type. And we were seeing each other. The problem with her was that she was quite demanding, and I didn't really care because it didn't really affect the way that I was living my life, because I wasn't really giving in to her demands. I was seeing her whenever I could see her. I was doing hangouts and talking to you guys. Even when she was there, I could basically do the hangout from the hall, and then when she was out, I would resume the hangout if she was around. I didn't really care. She had no idea about my MGTOW, and I never really discussed with her about anything to do of the sorts. We had an open relationship of sorts where I was seeing other girls and she knew that, and I was seeing her, but she seemed to be wanting more and more attention. So over the past, let's say, month, where I was doing this no fap thing. We can say that a friend of hers has died, both her parents died, and there was a fake pregnancy scare in there as well. Now, I didn't really care about all of these things because I consider everything to be a shit test, but I think she became quite demanding towards the very end. I know you're probably thinking, what the hell do you consider to be demanding, and what kind of women did you used to go out with? I never really cared about what women said in my life when I was dating before, because I was trying to only do what I pleased, and if they weren't happy with that, I would send them their own way. So I was doing basically the same thing with her, but I started being quite paranoid that she might murder me, or that she might throw a false rape accusation. I have shitloads of recordings with this girl over the phone and over the duration of this, let's say, relationship. And it became quite apparent to me that I was putting up with a lot more shit than what I was used to during this time, and I was even enjoying the closeness that I was having with this girl in almost a very strange way. I was enjoying the fact that I was with her, and when she eventually left, I could resume going my own way. So in essence, I don't know, at some point I started feeling like I may be coming up with emotions or whatever, and I knew that she was crazy. So the fact that I was having emotions for her and I cared for her crazy, it was telling me that there was something wrong with me. I could eventually rationalize it and just stop the whole thing. After 3 days worth of messages, I eventually managed to just text her, it's over, and that was it. So there was no false rape accusation or whatever, but it was always playing at the back of my mind that that was a possibility because of the way that this woman was behaving. But I guess whatever the situation might be, there is always that possibility with any woman, and especially with women who are throwing you what one may call red flags. And I didn't know. I recognized that all these things were red flags, and I was discussing it at the time with Messenger and Shining, and they were all like, dude, what the fuck? What is wrong with you? And I knew what I was doing. I understood the risks, and I was taking the risks on because I didn't really care. And to be fair, the 4 times that I had sex, those times were quite valuable. In terms of the no fap, all I'm going to say is that you need to first know who you are as a person if you are to undertake such a thing, and you need to understand the risks that you're willing to take. And I do see the nofap making you lose some of the control that you normally have. Now, depending on the person, you might have control, you might have shitloads of control over your actions, and you might have no control over your actions. If you're one of those people like me, where control of your actions comes very difficult, and you need to be very, very focused in what you're doing, I would advise strongly to stay away from the nofap. In terms of motivation, I would say that the nofap did give me motivation in order to act and in order to do things, in order to get up in the morning and just get going, but I would not recommend it. I think it takes the power away from the individual, and it lands it basically to the hands of a woman. It is important to understand that as a beast, as a man, we have these thoughts inside of us that are troubling us, and we want them to go away. An easy way that we can do this is by just wanking one off and just going about our daily life. So, I don't know. People have told me that maybe you need to keep doing it in order to get the full value from it, but to be fair, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this again. I don't think it provided any value for me. I don't think it gave me any more power to do things. It actually took away some of the power that I had over controlling my own actions, and it put me closer to danger because maybe I could see an ejaculation as a worthy risk to take. I don't know. I recognized the risks when they were happening, but I was just a lot less willing to take things on and just do as my big brain was telling me. Right now, I mean, eventually I did realize that I was acting like a fucking moron during that time, and I did break it off with that girl, and I eventually broke it off with the other two girls that I was seeing, and I was just going on with my life, and I haven't contacted anyone, and I'm having a more or less more pleasant existence. But I think it does affect you. I believe it really does affect you. And that's just my personal experience on the matter. Like I said, my heart rate remained pretty much stable throughout the time. My blood pressure has not changed in any way, but I did find myself enjoying the comfort of female company a lot more than I did before. And I was finding it, let's say, a lot easier to ignore women and their strange behaviors. And I attributed that to me just knowing how women work and understanding that things like that were a shit test. And even though I could see the dangers, I would simply ignore it, which is definitely not a good thing. And if the nofap has something to do with it, or whether the fascination that I have with crazy chicks, something that I have talked about at length before, and maybe I need to do a separate video on the type that we like in a woman, and maybe I can talk about my specific type. Maybe that had something to do with it. Now, I'm not sure which is which, and it is a process, and it is a process of me understanding myself. But for you guys, know that for right now, I'm back to my normal schedule. I feel a lot more relaxed already. So just keep in touch, and I'll keep you guys updated with whatever is going on. Thank you very much for listening. This was Nico Chosky talking about all things man. Please like, share, and of course subscribe to my channel for more updates.